Every year, millions of Indian 3-year-olds sit at little tables and practice writing the letter A. Their parents probably paid 40, 50, 60,000 rupees for the preschool. They bought the workbooks. They do 30 minutes of learning time every evening. And researchers who have followed these children for 40 years have found something that will stop you cold. The children who did the worksheets at the age of 3, by age 15, they were actually doing worse, not the same. They were doing worse. Higher rates of behavior problems, more anxiety, more disconnection from learning, and the children who spent those same years playing, they were thriving. Now, before you panic, I'm not saying you stop caring about your little one's education. All I'm saying is that the old parenting script has been selling you the wrong definition of education, and today we're going to replace it with what the science actually shows. Hi, I am Ankita Chandak, Montessori expert, positive parenting and neuroscience coach. Every week on this channel, child development science is made usable for real Indian families, so do hit the subscribe button. Let me ask you something. When you picture your child being school ready, what do you see? Do you imagine that they would be writing their name, they would be knowing their numbers from 1 to 20, they would be reading simple words? I actually want to show you what research consistently identifies as the real predictor of long-term academic success. So there's been a research that's followed children from preschool all the way till middle school, and the single strongest predictor of how they did in school, in relationships, in life was not what they knew at age 5, it was self-regulation. Can your child handle frustration without falling apart? Can they wait for their turn? Can they recover when something goes wrong? Are they resilient enough? These skills, not the alphabet, are what the brain builds first. And here's the painful irony. Early academic pressure puts self-regulation at the back seat. So when children are put in high-stakes learning situations before their brains are ready, they actually don't rise to meet it. This actually creates anxiety, avoidance, a feeling that learning is something that happens to you, not something you do actively. And this is actually called learned helplessness. And honestly, the problem with this is that it sticks with children for many, many years. So in this video, we're talking about 3 things. What's actually happening in the child's brain from birth to the age of 6, what the long-term research on early academics has already proven and shown, and 5 things you can do at home that genuinely prepares your child for school. And no, it does not include doing those worksheets that you've probably been told you need to do. All right, so let's discuss the child's brain from birth to 6. Your child's brain at birth has hundreds of billions of neurons. Almost no connections already exist between them, right? So your entire job in the first 6 years, the entire job is to build those connections. And what is exactly building them? It's not instruction, it is actually experience, movement, play, emotional back and forth with people who love them. There is a neuroscience Stuart Brown who spent his entire career studying play, and he says that play is not the opposite of learning. Play is learning. Play is learning delivered in the format the young child was built for. So now, let's talk about what is happening with Ria at the age 4. She's made to sit and trace letters. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that's handling focus, abstract thinking, is not ready for this yet. Asking Ria to sit and write at age 4 when she's forced to is like asking someone with a broken leg to run a race. You might get movement, but you're actually creating harm in the process. So, the 40-year-old study talks about 2 groups of children who were given different preschool programs. Okay, one group had child-directed play-based learning, and there was one that had academic-focused curriculum. At the age of 5, the academic group was slightly ahead. They knew their letters, they knew their numbers. Parents were very happy, right? But then, the researchers kept following these children, and by the age 15, 3 times the rate of behavior problems existed in the academic group. At the age of 23, these children had higher arrest rates, lower employments, and more troubled relationships. So the academic head start that they got actually disappeared by the age 7. But the stress of those early years actually lasted a lifetime. Now, this pattern has been seen in many, many countries where formal school actually starts late. Children aren't pressured. the academic outcomes in the later years is actually pretty high. Now I know exactly what some of you are thinking right now, Ankita, this is Finland. This is 1960s America. I live in Bangalore. I live in Pune. My child has a school interview at the age 3. So if she doesn't know her letters, she doesn't get admission. If she doesn't get this school, then she doesn't get that school, and then so on and so forth. So I hear you. The pressure is real. And I'm not asking you to pretend that there is no pressure, because the whole system is designed for pressure. But the question I want you to sit with is, can the interview preparation and genuine brain development happen separately? What you do for the gate, you can prepare Ria for what the system demands, and you can protect her natural development inside your home. These don't have to be in conflict unless you let them be. All right, there has to be a balance between what school is doing and what you're doing at home, and that's, I think, really important. So let's talk about the 5 pillars of real school readiness today. Now, the first pillar is conversation. The strongest predictor of language ability at 6 is back and forth conversation with a parent. It's not the books read aloud, it's not the apps, it's the actual conversation. So narrate your day with Ria. We are going to the departmental store. What do you need? What's that smell? What do you think is going to happen if you forget the vegetables? These conversations are building the language base that no phonics class can actually touch, right? The second pillar, fine motor through real life. The way to creating writing steadiness is not tracing letters. Honestly, it is first tearing the paper, kneading the dough, sorting the dal, washing the grains, doing the buttons, using tongs. So every time your child is helping you in the kitchen, it's actually, sensory play and occupational therapy. Let your children help you. Yeah, it's going to be slower, it's going to be messier, but maybe that's exactly what the hand of the child needs, because the hand is the instrument of the man's intelligence. The third pillar is executive function games. Now, board games build turn-taking. They build frustration tolerance. Simon Says builds impulse control. Pretend play builds planning and language together. These are not just games, okay? These are brain development that you're looking for. And these are actually disguised as fun, but they're amazing for your child. So do more of those. Pillar 4, and this is really important, is emotional vocabulary. A child who can name their feelings can regulate them. A child who can regulate feelings can then sit in a classroom and learn well. Now, how do you do it? Name feelings out loud in everyday moments. You're feeling frustrated right now. You wanted that biscuit and I said no. Now you're upset. Ria looks sad. Her tower fell. What do you think she needs? You're building a feeling library. Let your children use that every time something hard happens, and this is something that will stick for the rest of their lives. And pillar 5, the power of I did it myself. Every time you solve a problem for your child, you're taking away a chance for your child's brain to grow. When the child can't get their shoe on, just let them struggle enough. And I'm telling you, when they get to that moment where they say they did it, that feeling is not just satisfaction. It is the foundation for lifelong confidence that you're going to be helping your children create, right? So I would say don't jump in and help just because it's faster. Let your children struggle a little bit. If you've been doing worksheets every evening, you've been anxious at every school assessment, I am not here to make you feel bad. You were given a script. You were given a script that good parents prepare their children early, and reading and writing is very important. You followed it because you love your child, and here's what I want you to hear. The child who plays freely until the age of 6, 7, who builds towers, who tears paper, who has long conversations after dinner, that child does not fall behind. They arrive at school with a regulated nervous system, a rich vocabulary. They can handle frustrations. They have confidence of someone who has been solving their own problem for years. They don't just survive school, they ace it, That's what we are building. We're not trying to build a child who can write letter A at the age 3. A child who can handle anything that comes at them is what we are doing. RAISE is my 3-day intensive where we go deep into exactly this. Building your home into the environment your child's brain actually needs. Link is in the description. There's also a webinar. I'm going to see you there very, very soon. Take care and don't forget to hit the subscribe and the like button.